Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Niraj Periwal. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at eFolder, and I'm your host for today's event. Welcome to the eFolder Expert Series. This webinar series brings together experts from eFolder's staff and partner community for deep dive discussions on key service, business, and technical topics. Today's presentation is 5 ways to prevent data loss using business-grade file sync. Today we're joined by the wonderful Ann Doring, instructional designer here at eFolder. Now, before going into today's agenda, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded. The recorded version of the webinar will be made available on eFolder's YouTube channel, and we're also going to make a copy of the recording and a copy of the slides available to everyone attending today. Now, today's session, as with any good webinar, follows a logical flow. After introducing our expert, Ann, I'm going to take a deep dive into the top 5 threats that your SMB clients face in terms of their data and potential data loss. Then we're going to look into how we can prevent this data loss from occurring in the first place, or from, preventing that loss from being permanent. And we're going to introduce a file sync solution that you may have heard of called eFolder Anchor. It's a business-grade file sync solution designed specifically for deployment by MSPs. We're then going to let Ann show us a 10 to 15-minute demo about how to leverage the different features of Anchor to prevent data loss for your clients. So how to either prevent it in the first place, or if data has been lost, how to recover it so that the loss isn't permanent. Finally, we plan a special section for Q&A at the end of today's webinar. Now, we encourage questions throughout the webinar, so even if in the middle of my slides you have a question, feel free to chime in for the question log, and we'll try to entertain questions as we go along. Now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our expert for today, Dr. Ann Doring. Ann Doring is an instructional designer here at eFolder. She has a background in information architecture and instructional technology, and she spent the last 12 years organizing and distributing data and information within IT firms. Ann received her BA from Carnegie Mellon University, her MS from the University of Pittsburgh, and a doctorate from Equinix University's Instructional Design Program. Ann, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's take a deep dive right into the top 5 threats that your clients face to their data. So the first is device theft or loss. And, everybody nowadays has multiple devices, a phone, a laptop, maybe an iPad or another tablet. And these devices can be found and taken pretty much everywhere, from the boardroom to a coffee shop to the back of a taxi. And too often we find that, these devices, because they're so portable and so easy to take around everywhere, are really easy to misplace or to have stolen. So whether you leave your phone in the back of a cab, or you get mugged on a BART train or another commuter train, these kind of things happen too often. And a lot of these devices now have really critical corporate data, even if the data isn't issued, or even if the device isn't issued by the corporation or the company that the employee works for. I personally have my own personal phone synced with my corporate email, so even though the phone is my responsibility and, I pay for it and I pay for the service, if it were to get stolen or lost, that's an enormous liability for the company I work for. So it's really important to recognize that as these devices become more proliferated in organizations, it's really important to be able to protect the data that is on these devices. The second often cause of data loss in organizations can result from malicious data overwrites. So we've seen a lot of different viruses and things floating around, like CryptoLocker, and its many variants. And, these can be spread through a variety of means, whether it's an innocuous-looking email message, purportedly coming from the CEO, but actually coming from a pretty creative phisher, or, something else. And the results can be really disastrous. They can result in encryption of your data. They can result in your data being overwritten by a hacker. They can result in things like blue screens and, viruses and Trojans and all sorts of nasty malware that you don't want on your computer, but too often can infect you. And so what you want to be able to do is ensure that if there is any kind of malicious data overwrite, you're able to recover from it and get all your data back as it was before that occurred. Now, the third incident where SMBs frequently lose data is when their credentials are stolen. And there's so many ways nowadays for credentials to be stolen. I mean, first off, everybody has, literally dozens of different websites and platforms that they log into every single day. And, it's so easy to fall into the temptation of having endless post-it notes on your monitor, or just use really weak passwords for all of your different accounts and platforms. But obviously, there's a big risk there to have your credentials stolen or, be hacked into. And the results can really be catastrophic. I mean, if you have a single password shared among multiple accounts, or if, somebody manages to get access to your personal computer or your LastPass or your 1Password or whatever you use, then it can be really, really disastrous to lose or to get your credentials stolen or lost. The fourth reason why a lot of SMBs suffer from data loss is accidental data deletion. This can be happen, often when we see a lot of people collaborating on a single set of documents, you'll find that it's really easy for them to lose data because one person may accidentally overwrite, let's say, a document that 5 different people are working on. And all of a sudden, all the other 5 people are going to, be worried that all the data that was previously there has now been overwritten and can't be recovered. And data deletion can happen in so many different ways. It can happen either due to a shared document being overwritten by somebody. It can happen by your laptop taking a swim in the great deep ocean, or maybe, like I mentioned before, maybe your password gets stolen, or your device gets lost or stolen, and then data can be easily overwritten or lost. And what did that result in? It results in you punching the wall in frustration, very upset at yourself for letting your data be accidentally overwritten or deleted, and wondering how to get it back. And finally, especially today in the age of Dropbox and OneDrive and Google Drive and all of these consumer-grade file sync solutions, there's a huge risk for non-secure sharing. It's really hard to control how your employees are sharing information, whether it's internally or with third parties. And if they don't share that corporate data in a secure manner, it's really easy for the data to be lost, or for it to proliferate in ways completely unintended by either the sharer or by the company. So, using non-secure file sync solutions, like the free versions of many file sync services out there, can result in files and folders kind of going everywhere, and the inability to control who has access to what. And it's really important to know that unless, from the corporate standpoint, the sharing is controlled and it's done in a secure manner, it's really tough to enforce secure sharing. And what you need is a solution that will allow you to share files in a secure manner, to track who things are being shared with, when they're accessed, control download limits and password controls, so you as the sharer or as a company are really in control of your own data. Now I'd like to introduce a file sync solution that we built from the ground up for MSPs to deploy to their SMB clients, and it's called Anchor. Now, eFolder Anchor allows your clients to work across any device, with anyone, with any content, but importantly, without compromising security and control. So just like all the services that, are name brands nowadays, from Dropbox to OneDrive to Google Drive to Sooner to Ignite, Anchor works in a very similar manner to those for the end user, but it gives the MSP a lot of advanced functionality and control over how data is being used, who is being shared with, and who has access to what data. So deploying eFolder Anchor is a really great way to ensure that clients can enjoy the benefits of file sync, while you as the MSP can ensure your clients' data remains secure and never is in harm's way. So let's talk a little bit about how Anchor works. So we got kind of a network diagram here. So as you can see, Client A and Client B are two different clients under the control of the MSP who are using Anchor. So Client A has two users, one who is using a phone and an iPad, and what they're doing is they're taking all the data off of the file server and syncing it in real time to the cloud, and they're able to access it on any device. Now, user 2 also has a multitude of devices. They have looks like a laptop, a phone, and a tablet. And because all the data is synced with the eFolder cloud, they're able to access all of that data from wherever they are or whatever device they're using at the current moment. And it's a pretty similar situation with Client B, only with a different set of users and a different set of equipment. But the same principle applies. You're able to access all of your data from any device. Now, both Client A and Client B are sharing their data with guest users, G1 and G2, who have their own devices and their own means of accessing the data that's been shared. But it's really important to know that Client A and Client B, when they share their data with the guest users, have a multitude of secure sharing options that they can take advantage of. So they don't have to worry about data falling into the wrong hands, because Client A and Client B are always in full control of their data and how it's being shared. And you as the MSP are really able to leverage the eFolder cloud to really control who has access to what data, and ensure that clients are allocating the right amount of storage. There's a really sophisticated multi-tenant admin console that you as the MSP have access to, and being able to control everything from the users and the clients to the storage that's been allocated is a really beneficial way to ensure that that your client's data is always secure and that you're always in full control of it. So let me take a look at the question log, see if there are any questions. Nothing yet, but please feel free to chime in if you do have anything, and we can try to address any questions on the fly. So let's go ahead and get to a demo of 5 ways to prevent data loss using business-grade sourcing. So, Anne, I'm going to go ahead and give you organizer or presenter control so that you can show everyone on the line exactly how to prevent data loss using Anchor. So,
wonderful. Thanks, Neeraj.
No problem.
Yeah, so while Neeraj is setting that up, just to give you a little bit of a background, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through a demo of Anchor, kind of highlighting some of the issues that Neeraj outlined for us today. Let me go ahead and show you my screen. Okay. So what we're looking at right now is an organization called Super Safe Data. So again, we're going to walk through as an administrator from this organization.
Sorry, Anne, I'm not able to see your screen.
Can you see it now?
Now I can. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so again, what we're going to do is what we're looking at right now is an organization in Anchor. So we're looking at the Anchor administrative user face, and I am logged in as an administrator from this organization, Super Safe Data. And this administrator, unfortunately, is having a rough day, and we've all been here. Now, he's actually about to encounter 5 different threats to data security, very similar to what Neeraj just walked through, within a very short time period. But Anchor is going to help us out in 10 minutes or less. So again, here I am as an administrator, and I've received a support call from an end user. And we can call our end user today Jane. Jane needs to restore an older version of a file. So she has incorrectly edited a file and overwritten the right version. So this is actually an easy problem to solve. Now, by default in Anchor, unless you purposefully adjust policy settings, the system is going to keep track of each revision of a file and each deleted file. So we can easily get these older versions back. An end user can also do this themselves, but administrators can jump in and help as well, depending on the user's proficiency. So what we're going to do from the administrative web portal is click the Accounts tab so we can see our user. You can see we have Jane's name listed here as a user. And I'm going to go ahead and click this Browse Files button because it's going to give me a view of all of Jane's data. So all I would have to do is browse to the file in question, right-click the file, and select Revisions. And again, an end user can do this just as easily. And the system's going to show me a whole list of the revision history. I can click a revision to take a look at it, see if it's the right revision I want to restore. I can download the revision if I want to look at it offline. I can also click the Restore Revision link, and it's going to give me a notification up here at the top saying that the revision was successfully restored. And you can see a new version has been moved to the top, and the older version has just moved down in the list. So problem solved. So this newest file revision is now available in the cloud and on each and every connected device. So Jane will now have access to her version. So that's the first problem that we just avoided. So we hear from Jane again. And unfortunately, it seems that Jane is having a few problems. She's been hit by ransomware. So it's not just one file now. She's been hit by ransomware. All of her files, including her synced files, have been infected. Again, no problem. We're going to use the revision rollback feature this time. So the revision rollback feature utilizes the same revision history list, but it's going to let you restore all files in an affected folder in bulk to a previous healthy version. So let's see how this works. I'm going to go ahead back to her files, view of her files. Now in a real world scenario, you can use this activity log up here to figure out the exact point in time when the user's files were affected. For this demo, let's assume that the user's content was affected about 45 minutes ago. So as soon as you have that date and time in mind, you can get started. This is so simple. So all I have to do is click this button right here. It's called the Rollback button. And it's going to present the Rollback dialog box, and it's going to prompt me to select the day and time where I want to restore these revisions to. So there's a nice handy Now button that's actually going to repopulate this dialog box with the current date and time. And because this happened about 45 minutes ago, I'm just going to move this back 1 hour. And I'm going to go ahead and click the Rollback button. And I'm going to be notified again that this root has been successfully restored. And I can even, if I want to, go ahead and browse and check these files, the revision history of these files, to take a look and make sure that a new version has been created. So sure enough, we're all set. We've restored this content to the last healthy revision, and we have really avoided this attack from ransomware. So synced state content is safe, and the company's work content is safe as well. Okay, so that's the first. Those are the first two issues that we've avoided. But Jane, again, having a rough day. We hear from her now that she's lost her phone, which has synced data on it. Now, luckily, this is another easy fix. So we're going to go ahead and move back to the administrative side of the web portal. That's really easy by clicking the Organization tab. And once we get to the Organization tab, I'm going to go ahead and navigate to her particular organization, which is the internal organization. You can see we have this nice multi-tenant user interface here. I'm going to click the Accounts tab to find Jane's account. And you can see that if I click to expand her account, any of her registered devices are going to show up here in this list. You can see that she has a Windows machine registered, and she has an iPhone registered. This is the phone that's been lost. We want to make sure that the synced content that's on her phone is not available to be stolen. So let's just go ahead and click this unlink button. And it's disappeared from the system. The next time that phone checks in with the server, so the next time that phone's turned on, it's going to completely, the data is going to be removed, completely removed from the phone. So, that was another easy fix. The data on the phone is completely removed. Again, her data is safe. Work content is safe.
So, Anne, I just wanted to quickly clarify for everyone watching that when you unlink a phone or a device, it deletes basically all of the data stored in Anchor, but not, the entire phone. So all of Jane's, texts and music and contacts and everything else will still remain on the phone. Hopefully she had Touch ID or a strong password enabled on her phone, but at least even if somebody were to get into the phone, they would not be able to access any of the data stored in Anchor. So any of that corporate data would not be accessible to anybody who took the phone later.
Absolutely. Excellent point. So the phone itself is not wiped, but the synced data, the data that's from SuperSafe Data Inc. is completely off that phone now. So, so the work content is safe, which is what we're really most worried about here. Okay, so now because Jane is having such a rough day, as an administrator, I'm going to take a few precautions to make sure that her account is extra secure. Now with Anchor, an end user can decide to turn on a feature called two-factor authentication, or an admin can turn it on as an organization policy. And two-factor authentication is going to add that extra login step, sending users a passcode through text message, email message, or an app, and providing an extra layer of security over their account and all of their data. So let's go ahead and make sure that this has been turned on for an organization policy here at SuperSafe Data. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Settings tab. I'm going to click the Policies tab, and you can see that there are so many different policies and settings available to set for each different organization. But I want to pay attention to this Require Two-Step Authentication policy. It looks like it's already turned on for this organization. So that means that any user account who is subscribed to this organization is going to need to configure their own two-step authentication or two-factor authentication settings. So let's see what happens from an end user's perspective. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this web browser. Right now, we are looking at Jane's local machine. This is her Windows machine. So as an end user, Jane can decide to receive her authentication code, again, through email, text, or a special app. I'm going to go ahead and open up a browser window, and let's see how this works. I'm going to log in. And so we entered the username, we entered the password, and now we're presented with a third step. This is the step that's requiring that authentication code. You can see that Jane just received an email with that authentication code. So I'm just going to really quickly grab that. It's only available for a short time period. Paste that in. And as soon as I paste that in, I'm going to have access here. So now Jane has logged into her own account. her web browser account is going to be protected by two-step authentication. If she registers an agent on her local machine, that's going to be protected during the registration process through two-factor authentication. And all of those devices are protected through two-factor authentication. So it's a really nice secure feature, a great way to protect all of your devices. That's a great way to prevent data loss. Okay, so Jane is now very aware of security, clearly, since she's had such a tough day. And we've all had days like this, right? So she's going to be extra careful with her data from here on out. So for example, she has a number of different options when working in Anchor to collaborate with internal and external users. And we're going to just see one example here. So let's say that Jane is working with an outside accounting firm, just as an example, and she needs to create a long-term safe collaboration space between her and these outside users who don't have Anchor accounts. This is easy. So she can simply create a new folder, add files and folders, the content she wants to share into this folder, and she can create a secure share link. A secure share link is password protected. So we're going to see how this works right now. I'm going to go ahead and open up my synced folder here. So these are all of my team shares. These are my personal files and folders. And you can see that Jane has a files for accountant. This is a folder that she created for her accountant. There's some files in here. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click, point to my context menu, and select Share Link. And what's going to happen, we're going to see this new browser open. A new browser window is going to open, and a Share Access dialog box is going to ask me to configure share settings for this link. So you can set a public share URL, meaning that anybody could access this. You could even copy it to your clipboard and paste it for users internal or outside of the organization and send that as a share link, or you can decide to send this as a secure share link. And as a side note, an administrator could force all share links to be secure, so that is an option for administrators. And again, once I click Secure Share, it's going to password protect that share. And the system is actually smart enough to know if I'm sending, or Jane's sending, a secure share link to somebody outside of the company who does not have an Anchor account. And it's actually going to automatically generate a username and a password for these outside users, who we call guests, giving them the ability to log in securely. And you can always, again, remove access for these guests if you want to in the future. So once I select Secure Share, I'm going to go ahead. I can optionally be notified on upload or download into this folder. I can set an expiration date. But in the Share With dialog box, I can add the users, the guest user's email address. Very simple. And as soon as I add this as a recipient, you can see, if I move up this dialog box a bit, that I can assign permissions to the shared folder as well, the secure shared folder. I can add upload permissions, delete permissions. I can also revoke these permissions as well. And as soon as I click the share button, an email is going to generate to that user. The guest user is going to receive 2 emails, one with login credentials and one with a link to access the secure area. So that's it. Again, it's been a tough day, but our end user, our admin, has successfully recovered an old version of a file, recovered from ransomware, protected a lost device, and took some extra precautions by using two-factor authentication and sending secure share links.
Awesome. Thanks, Ann. And, you know, before we switch back to the PowerPoint, I mean, I just wanted to add, you know, all of these features are incredibly powerful just individually, but when you combine them together, they really make for an incredibly secure file sync solution that any business can rely on, whether they deal with everyday, you know, routine information, or they have very secure data that they need to keep safe, like maybe if they're a financial organization or they need to comply with HIPAA. So Anchor is really versatile, and it's really meant for the users of any kind of, within any kind of organization. And, you know, especially this secure sharing feature, what's really great about it is that it enables a number of different workflows that you wouldn't maybe think of for a file sync tool. I think many people just think of file sync as a easy way to share files, right? But there's also a great utility is being able to create a guest account for, let's say, an accountant, or maybe if you're a doctor, and you want to create a guest account for one of your patients, and have them upload sensitive documents like an X-ray, or something with electronic protected health information. And so you want to be able to have kind of a two-way file sharing mechanism, but maintain the security to ensure that you at the doctor's office don't violate any kind of HIPAA regulations, and that the user and the patient are comfortable sharing their data with you. So it's a really great, just a really great advantage to be able to deploy a secure file sync solution to your clients, knowing that they can use it in so many different and versatile ways.
That's exactly right. I mean, this is a business-grade file sync tool, so it's going to give you all of those collaboration options and more than what you would find in a consumer-grade tool, but it's also going to provide you that extra layer of security. All of these security features really add up to make it for really just a safe, collaborative space between between your customers and their customers. So yeah, it's a wonderful tool. So hopefully this helps explain a little bit how you can use these features to your advantage.
Awesome. So let me go ahead. Thank you so much, Anne, for doing that demo. Really illustrative, and hopefully Jane never has such a bad day.
Hopefully her day gets better.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to show my screen now. Anne, can you verify that you can see it?
I can see it.
Perfect. Cool. So, this is just a really short webinar that we wanted to show all of you how to prevent data loss using a business-grade file sync solution. And for those of you who haven't used Anchor, or maybe used it a long time ago and haven't had the chance to experience its newest features, we've introduced things like Web Preview, LAN Sync, and we've got other really exciting things coming down the pike. We encourage you to try out Anchor for yourself. So we created a web page at eFolder.net/AnchorNFR, where you can sign up for a free Anchor NFR, not for resale license, for up to 25 users. So you can deploy Anchor internally, test it out for yourself, see how well it works, see what kind of different security features and functionality there are with an Anchor. And then when you are comfortable with it, then you can take the next step and deploy it to your clients. We also offer a free 21-day trial, either SaaS or private cloud model. So what's interesting about Anchor is that we allow you to not only use the power of the eFolder cloud to have all of your files sync, all of your clients' files sync into the cloud, and have their file server sync to the cloud. And we have really inexpensive pricing. But we also offer the ability to do private cloud deployments. So for any of you with clients who, for whatever reason, don't want to have all their data in the public cloud, and who have been, reticent to use services like Dropbox for Business, or even bots, there's a way where you can say, hey, we're going to keep all of your data on our premises, and it's not going to leave and go to some data center where you're not in full control of it. So we give you the private cloud option as well. Because we really want to give partners the ability to deploy Anchor in whichever way they feel would be best for their clients, for their cost structure, and for their MSP. So we're all about flexibility and just enabling partners and letting them succeed in whatever way we can. So let's take a look at our question log here before we sign off. I've got a question here from Douglas, who's asking, did Rollback recover Jane's shared folders as well? Anne, do you want to lend your insight into that?
Sure thing, yes. So it's going to actually roll back every single file in whatever root you're in, meaning that if you're at her top level screen, you're seeing all of her personal files, all of her shared files, her team shares, it's going to roll back all of that data. So you're totally covered. If it's syncing to the cloud, you're totally covered for that revision rollback feature. Absolutely.
Yep. And so, just to give you an example of that, let's say, data was actually, let's say, Jane had previously sent a shared and Excel spreadsheet with colleague, but then she accidentally made some changes that she didn't mean to. And so what she can do is she can roll back, and then once that Excel document and everything else is rolled back, the share that she has shared with her colleague, because it's just a link, it'll automatically be updated so that it reflects, the latest version of the file that she had rolled back to.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. That's an added benefit there. And then also, just one more point to make. If you want to drill down into the folder structure and only roll back one folder, you can do that as well. You have complete control over what exactly you're rolling back. And like Niraj said, it's going to also make sure that any links that you've shared out, it's going to link back to the rolled back version of the file.
Yep. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for the question, Douglas. Couple more. Here's one from Russell asking, are the files on the Anchor server encrypted for financial and health companies? And the answer there is a yes. Anchor is fully HIPAA compliant and PCI and SOX compliant. So many of our partners actually have clients in the medical vertical, in the financial world. We have one MSP who's an Anchor partner who only deploys Anchor to financial companies in and around Wall Street. Another many MSPs we know who deploy Anchor to medical clients. So we've made sure to make a file sync solution that is fully HIPAA compliant, fully PCI and SOX compliant. So any of you with clients in sensitive verticals can confidently deploy Anchor, knowing that it's fully compliant. We'll sign VA agreements and provide you with all the documentation you need to ensure that you can comfortably deploy Anchor to whichever kind of client you want to. So great question there. Another question from Russell. Can the two-factor be linked to apps like Authy or Google Authenticator? The answer there also is solid yes. And I know we enable people to use Google Authenticator in addition to email and text.
Yep.
Do they have the option of anything else other than Google Authenticator?
Yeah, any authenticator. I think the Google Authenticator is a pretty popular one. I think we offer a number of different options. So I think for the most part, any of the most popular authenticator apps will work with Anchor. So yes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean sometimes people don't want to link their own personal email or their they don't want to give out their phone number as they don't want to give out their phone number any more than they need to. So if they want to use an app like Google Authenticator, they're free to do that as well.
Absolutely.
Final question here from Michael. Is the data locally stored in the Anchor sync folder encrypted? Yeah, go ahead, Anne.
I was to say, yeah, our data is encrypted in transit. We have some really, again, we've gone back, we've talked a little bit about how we like to say Anchor has military-grade encryption. So it's encrypted in transit at rest. So if you want to kind of know more about our encryption process, a little bit more about how that process works, our methodologies, I do encourage you to go to eFolder.net and link to our knowledge base, and all of those specifics, all of those technical details will be listed out there.
Yeah, I do want to mention actually from Michael that the data stored in the local sync folder on your PC that itself is not by default encrypted by Anchor, but there's always the option for the user, for the admin of the user, to just encrypt everything on the hard drive. I know my Mac here at work is encrypted because of IT insistence on everything being encrypted on the machine. But yeah, I mean, so you can definitely enable local encryption on your own PC or Mac, and then all the data in Anchor is completely encrypted on the server and in transit between your computer and between the server. So, let's see. Yep, Michael just commenting that you can use BitLocker or FileVault to encrypt your local machine. Cool. I don't see any more questions right now in the log. Let's see if any more pop up in the next few seconds. Again, I encourage all of you who haven't yet given Anchor a try to go to eFolder.net/AnchorNFR, sign up for a free NFR license up to 25 users for internal use, or a 21-day trial for either the SaaS or private cloud version of Anchor. So you can give it a try yourself. Awesome. Well, I think that kind of does it for the questions here. So I'm just going to give a small plug for a webinar we have coming up tomorrow, actually. It's called Spring Cleaning, Getting Your Clients to Ditch Tape Backups. And this webinar is really all about how you can get clients to adopt a modern BDR solution. You know, as you may hopefully be aware, eFolder offers a wide variety of business continuity solutions. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about eFolder BDR for Replicate, which is kind of one of our latest and greatest BDR solutions. But we also offer things like eFolder BDR for Shove Detect, BDR for Veeam, and BDR for Acronis, and BDR for Aperture. So basically, whichever image-based backup solution you feel most comfortable with, chances are we have a BDR solution that works with it. And tomorrow we have a special guest, Phil Lusher from Stepfar Technology Group, and he's going to talk about how he transitioned his clients away from tape backups into a far more robust and modern BDR solution. So don't be afraid, or definitely don't be afraid, but feel free to sign up for that, and we look forward to having you there. So that'll do it for today. I want to give a special thank you to everyone for attending, and especially to Anne. Thank you so much for giving such a lively demo and, you know, for answering all of our questions. We always love having you on. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. We'll go ahead and end this a little early, give you all more time to get everything else done in your day. But hope you enjoyed the presentation today. Tune in tomorrow. And until next time, have a good one. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.